What's up? What's up? What's up? I already screwed up what I was going to do. But good morning. It's Monday morning. It's time for 10 Minutes with Tim, where I give you 10 minutes worth of my 2 cents. And to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to talk about this morning. So that'll be good. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm going to share this real quick with my Facebook crew. I am going to turn on the comments in case anybody comments during the show so I can see them. And we'll get into something. Last week was just such a crazy week. And so I had like a bunch of notes, right, of ideas that I wanted to talk about on 10 Minutes with Tim every morning. My hair is like, it's time for another haircut. That's what it is. I got to get a haircut. Okay. Last week was so crazy. We talked about it Saturday on the show, on the main show. But we're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna leave that in the past. I think this morning I'm going to talk about. I think the title of this episode is going to be "Who Follows the Rules." So this is going to kind of touch on my comments that I've made about redundancies in laws and unnecessary laws and things like that. And again, it's going to be called "Who Follows the Rules," because people will tell you that laws are put in place to keep the bad guys in check, basically, right? Because at the end of the day, the good guys they're good anyway. So the only reason for the law or the rule is so that the bad guy that's going to just go wild and do whatever he wants knows not to do that, right? That's kind of the idea behind having laws. So not all laws, but things like the one I bring up a lot is fishing licenses, right? Fishing licenses, and really any type of license for the most part, is a weird concept to me. Basically, you're telling me that I have to pay you money to use a natural resource that no one had to go through the trouble of creating or building or making or anything. No one was involved in the creation of this. It's not a good or a service. Fish, right? They just exist naturally in the water, in the bay or the rivers, the Gulf, wherever. But I'm supposed to purchase a license from the government in order to be able to not to catch them, but to even attempt to catch them. And people say, well, it's to pay the conservation officers and to pay the wildlife officers and things like that, and to create education for people who are going to go fish. But here's the thing: the only people who care about those things are the people who are good people anyway. So like my cousin is a charter fisherman. He's going to abide by the rules whether he buys a license or not, because he knows, now that the information is out there, he understands that if he overfishes the bay, he's not going to have a good season next season, right? And it's going to affect his business and his livelihood. Commercial professional fishermen understand that. Most other people don't even care about that. So they're not technically planning on necessarily following those rules anyway. For me personally, I'll go fishing without a fishing license. I don't overfish. I don't do anything that's technically harming anyone or anything. But I don't need to pay the government to be able to do that, in my opinion. So who actually follows, again, we go back to who actually follows the rules? In my opinion, it's the people who are going to do good anyway that follow the rules. The people who are not going to do good anyway don't really care what the rules say. They're the criminal class, as it were, either way. And therefore, they don't really care about that. I've mentioned speeding quite a few times, right? Speed limits, in my opinion, don't do that much, and the speeding ticket as a consequence for that don't really do that much for the control of people's speed. If you go out on the road right now and had a radar gun like the police have and started clocking people, I bet you 95% of them are going faster than the speed limit. If that's the case, either A, if speeding is really dangerous, they should be stopped and given a ticket, right? If it's not really dangerous, then we don't need the speed limit to begin with. In addition to that, reckless driving is also a law. If you're driving erratically and driving recklessly and not keeping in mind the lives of the people around you, that's against the law. Wouldn't speeding fall into that category? So why do you need both? Couldn't you just lump the speed limit and the speeding ticket into reckless driving and have one rule instead of two? Does that make any sense? Let me know in the comments if it makes any sense. Tell us what you think in the comments. I'm trying out some new software. So if reckless driving is already against the law and is already a rule, then speeding doesn't need to also be a rule, right? Because driving faster than the speed limit at a rate high enough over what the safe limit is already against the law. So why have two? Why have two rules? Why have two laws, essentially? Basically, at the end of the day, I look at it like this. People in general, the general population, isn't out running around the world doing bad things. They're just not. Why do we need to be policed so much if we're not doing bad things in general? If everyone was out there doing bad stuff, just getting ridiculous, I could understand us creating a system to slow that down and to remove some of the bad. But bad people are the exception. They're not the rule. As a general rule, people are good. Now, they might do small things. They might cut some corners, tell little white lies, things like that. But overall, people aren't out here murdering people for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a general bad group of people, for the most part, that I can tell. If there were, I think we'd know about it. Now, you could say that some of the things that are going on right now in the world are because of generally bad people. rioting and all of that sort of stuff. But again, even those people are the exception and not the rule. And also, you could equate that to frustration more so than just general bad behavior. Being frustrated about something will make you do things that you wouldn't previously have done. We find that in relationships a lot with our significant other, right? If they push your buttons, even if they're playing, eventually you snap, right? That's what's happening in that realm right now. People are snapping because they because they are fed up, right? They're frustrated. They're not bad people by nature necessarily. I think that, like I mentioned on the show a couple weeks ago, I'm going to end with this because we've just hit 10 minutes. I'm going to end with this. No, I'm not even going to say that because it doesn't pertain to who follows the rules. The question of the day is who follows the rules. And ultimately, the only people who follow the rules are the people who really don't need the rules to begin with. They might need some guidelines. They might need a push in the right direction. They might need someone to say, hey, if you're going to go out fishing, don't catch 50 fish. You know, you only need 5, right? And then now they know that. The next time they go out, they're probably not going to catch 50 fish. They're only going to catch 5 fish or bring home 5 fish. Because they're like, yeah, you're right. So generally good people aren't going to do the thing that we don't want them to do anyway. So we don't need to create laws for that. We can just have guidelines. They don't need to be enforced, fine-paying laws on the books for things that don't make sense like that. Just tell people, look, it's probably smart if you do it this way instead of this way, and let it play out. If they don't do it that way, then you slowly start to enforce things a little bit differently. But you don't just need to get every offense that happens in the world isn't a finable, arrestable offense, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It's not just my opinion. There are other people that believe that way, but it's my opinion right now. Everything that people do that's against the rules isn't an arrestable or finable thing. It's just slap on the wrist kind of situation, right? We're arresting people for things and fining people for things that are just silly most of the time. And what that does is creates the need for a larger police force because we have so many rules that have to be regulated. If we could get rid of some of those redundancies in the rules, we could lessen the need for police forces, thus lessening the chances of there being bad apples in the police force, thus lessening the chance for police brutality to occur, right? If that's what we're trying to achieve long-term, big goal is lessen police brutality, right? And that's not even a big goal. It's just a reasonable goal. Like, we shouldn't have police brutality to begin with, unnecessary police brutality. Sometimes it's necessary for an officer to do something forceful, but most of the time it's not. If we could get some of those rid of some of those redundancies, we could lessen the need for police force. Again, I'm going to go through this one more time. In turn, lessening the chance for bad apples, thus lessening the chance of police brutality occurring unnecessarily. So that's my thoughts on a who follows the rules situation, and also I got a little bit off tangent and got into police brutality and stuff, but I didn't mean to do that, but it just kind of goes along with it. So yeah, that's it. Tim here, 10 Minutes with Tim, Grayscale. going black.